after a night in Kuala Lumpur, we flew over to India to start our journey in Cochin.
Cochin is in Kerala in the southwest of India and is really famous for its food and its backwaters.
So although we weren't doing the backwaters this time, we chose to stay with a homestay, and the most wonderful family were hosting us where we were for 4 nights.
So wandering around the city, it's divided into several parts. Fort Cochin is in the northwest side and is famous for its Dutch rule and British rule. And then Matacheri, which is on the eastern side of the island, has a place called Jewtown, which itself is now filled with spice markets and loads of traders.
So while we were in Jewtown, we paid a visit to the famous synagogue, which is known because it's the first synagogue in India, and it was beautifully decorated inside with lots of chandeliers and really interesting Chinese tiles on the floor.
Inside there was also a story of how the first Jews came to India, and it's a fascinating story which is illustrated through these paintings, and it was really good to walk around. The next door there was a really good cafe too.
After the cafe we went off to the Dutch Palace, which again shows lots of the history of the Dutch colonialism as well as the Portuguese, and a little bit of the history for us in Cochin.
Inside the museum it was beautifully preserved, and there were lots of Hindu paintings on the wall, murals, which were really interesting to see and thankfully have been preserved really well.
It was great to explore Fort Cochin. We had a really nice time, and that evening we chose to book into one of Kerala's famous dance shows.
So the Kathakali is famous because it's almost like a mime. The actors turn up an hour before the show, and on the stage we got to sit and watch them put their makeup on, and it's all to do with expressions and using their body.
Amazing to watch their little facial expressions change with little muscles in the body, especially when their eyebrows popping up and down. I couldn't believe it. It was really impressive and different to anything that we've seen so far. So traditionally these shows can often go on up to 7 hours, and our show thankfully was only an hour and a half. It was a small snippet of a big story, and with 3 actors on the stage, we got the bad guy, the good guy and the woman. We got a small glimpse of how they use their eyebrows, their eyes in particular, to show their expressions and emotions, and the beautiful singing that was happening in the background really made us feel at home in India.
One of the unofficial emblems of Fort Cochin are the Chinese fishing nets, which were brought over originally by the Chinese traders, and then after a brief period of them not being there, they were reintroduced by the Dutch.
While we were out that afternoon, we paid a visit to Santa Cruz Basilica.
The Basilica is the largest church in Fort Cochin and really stands out around its surroundings with a big white facade, and inside it's beautifully decorated as well. After we'd been there, we went over to St. Francis Church, which is the oldest church in India.
Inside the church is the former tomb of the famous Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama, who was laid here to rest before he was moved later on to Lisbon.
So after looking around a few of the major sites of Fort Cochin, we wanted to have a walk around the town to get its feel, take in a few sights, and when we got home we were offered to do a cooking class with our family.
So we've been really enjoying Keralan food for the last 4 days. So it's really nice to see how the fish mouli, which is famous down here, is made. We also did a prawn dish with some spices. We did a cabbage dish, green beans, and we finished off with a sort of char-grilled swordfish style fish steak.
Honestly, it's been amazing, and the food has just been incredible, and we've had sore stomachs simply because we're just eating so much all day, and we're so grateful for the family for showing us how to cook, and we'll definitely take the notes we took back home.
Cochin's been amazing to ride round a motorbike on. It's much more relaxed on the roads than the rest of India, and we got to enjoy seeing some of the daily life of some of the families, a lot of street food, and smell the spices as we rode down the streets.
We've loved our time in Kerala, but unfortunately it's had to come to an end. We would have loved to have done the backwaters this time, but we'll have to save that for our next visit because we'll definitely be coming back.
So we headed across town for our first major task to book some train tickets to Chennai.
After the initial confusion about what was going on and how we had to book the trains, we were fortunate enough to find someone who's really helpful and managed to book our train tickets. And one of the great things about the Indian Rail network is that it's cheap, easy to access for everyone, and has a tourist quota as well, which makes life a lot easier for people who haven't booked it earlier.
So we were in second class for AC, which is actually like our version of first class. We got on the train at about 10 o'clock at night and made our way across to Chennai ready for 10 o'clock the next morning.
As far as the train journey is concerned, it was excellent, and when we compared it to a lot of the other train journeys we've taken this trip, we have put it up there with one of the highest. It was really comfortable, we slept through most of the night and we were even provided with our own sheets.
So we arrived at Chennai at 10 the next morning, got across to our hotel, and after a lunch served to us by our hosts, we were taken straight out on a tuk-tuk.
It was funny because the owner of the hotel, she has organised these tours for us, and we've really not known really where we're going, so she's been more than happy to help us, but unfortunately we haven't quite known the names of the places that we've turned up to.
So all we can really say to you is we've seen a few temples, a couple of churches, a beach and museum.
We did actually go this morning to the site where St. Thomas the Apostle was killed, and also his tomb, which is one of the major basilicas here in Chennai.
Chennai's been a really busy city, and from the outside it might look like a whole mess of cars and tuk-tuks. It was our first experience of a big city in India, but we've really enjoyed sort of getting in there with local knowledge and finding all these little places.
So the next leg of our journey is going to take us up to Darjeeling via Kolkata, which is sure to be an interesting ride. We are taking the train the entire way up, so hopefully that will go well.
Yeah.
And we're in a range of different classes along the way.
It should be interesting, especially if we manage to get the famous Darjeeling toy train all the way up.
So once again, thank you for watching our videos. If you like what you've seen, click the like button or subscribe.
So we will speak to you guys next from North India.
Bye, guys.